Associate Professor Dr. Mariani Muhammad Noor. Associate Professor Dr. Mariani binti Muhammad Noor is the Dean of the Faculty of Education, University of Malaya, where she is an Associate Professor in Early Childhood Education and Psychology. She received her PhD in Education from Bristol University, UK. She is also a lecturer for the MPhil in Early Childhood Education. Previously, she was the Program Coordinator for Early Childhood Education at the University of Malaya for over 18 years. She has also written many articles and books related to early childhood education. Her latest publications are Style of Parenting and Educating Children from an Islamic Perspective, Understanding Play in Children's World, Observation and Assessment Skills for Children, Trends and Issues in Play and Creative Expression of Children, as well as the basis of early education program. Today, Associate Prof Dr. Mariani will be presenting an interesting topic, which is nurturing values in early childhood education. So, Dr. Mariani.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. A very good afternoon. Now, I'm only given, I think, half an hour or 20 minutes. And with the preparation that I've done, half an hour is not enough actually. Yep. But I try to cut short things, which I believe that cutting it will not be so nice, but I'll try to make it a better one. Yep. I've been involved in the early childhood education for over more than 20 years, and every Sunday I will be going to preschool or private preschool for me to teach as for free, because I believe that you need to have the experience before you teach the young children, have the empathy, have everything that the young children do have, because I think everybody in this room is not that old yet and is not that young, but we are not young children. Just now during lunch we discussed that Mr. Junaidi said that we are younger than our children because we learn from our young children. Yep. My topic is about nurturing values in early childhood education. Now, this is about only to give you the brief idea about the concept of nurturing values in our young children. And when I say young children, it is more into the nursery and also in the kindergarten. Now, for international participants, for nursery, it is 4 years and below, and for the kindergarten, it is 4 to 6. There are 4 different types of kindergarten, 3 from the government, and 4 in fact from the government, and the rest they are privatized, private sector. And they normally use different curriculum. So back to curriculum, where are we? The title here is Nurturing Values in Early Childhood Education. First, I would like to show 2 contrast videos, and which I would like you to have a look. This video was taken when I visited one of the private preschool in Sarawak, Miri, Sarawak. So the young children are taught of how to pray. They are as young as 4 or 5 years old. Now look at them. They are not actually listening, but they are indirectly practicing. Okay. Another video, please not be mistaken, I'm not trying to show the negative one, but this is some example. Yeah, I visited one of the private kindergarten in Cambodia. She was teaching the national song. Look at the 2 young children on your right hand side. 2 young children. Two of them were only looking without doing any action. please observe. She was kicking. Okay. And the teacher was happily singing. Okay, stop there. Now tell me, were they rude? We cannot blame them. You see, because they thought that what they are doing is something to express their ideas, their views, that maybe they said, we don't like your song, we like other song. So probably that could be the case. Now in our Malaysian preschool system, if that is the case, then those two children of course will be punished, and the punishment will not come in terms to hurt them. There's nothing more than that, yeah, just to advise. Now talking about the early childhood education in Malaysia, next please. This will be the outline of my presentation. Introduction, what are values, value-based education in Malaysia, strategies to implement VBE. Then next. Now, just go on, B, C. This is what's happening in Malaysia. If, let's say, a 17-year-old student fail or misbehave, the teacher will just say, what have you all been doing in your lower secondary level? And went back to the lower secondary level. And the lower secondary level teacher will then say, why are you not behaving well? What did your primary school teacher teach you? And we go to the primary level. They misbehave, they talk nonsense and a lot more things. This is something, let's say, negative or positive. Now we put it as a negative one. And they will just say, I don't know what the preschool teacher are doing. So every now and then it goes down, and they will always blame the root of the education, which is the preschool level, which is the nursery level. I believe Almarie agrees with me. Okay? Now, in Malaysia, whoever is teaching the preschool or nursery, they can even be SPM leavers, SRP leavers or LCE leavers, or diploma or certificate. But in other countries, let's say in UK, Australia, New Zealand and whatnot, the preschool, they have their doctorate degree. Not to look down upon whatever is happening in Malaysia, but they believe that the most important person with the highest knowledge will have to teach the young children. So that is the most important thing. Now in Malaysia, this is what happening. Education in Malaysia is more for examination, is more for employment, and is more for empowerment. Agree, JS, Mr. JS? Examination syndrome. Now, UPSR has just passed. From 4 subjects, it has been increased to 6 subjects. Now, why there is an increase? Of course, there must be reason behind that. I'm not against, or I'm not whatever it is, yeah? Just to make people think about that. Now, when we talk about examination syndrome, are we preparing our children for the examination, or are we preparing our children to make sure that they have the values that they need to have when they go outside the school compound? Okay, in Malaysian education system, we have the curriculum, so-called the National Preschool Standard Curriculum. We always use that curriculum. But sometimes the preschool teacher will not use that. And sometimes even the private preschool will not use that, because they are more towards the 3M or 3R. What is 3R? Writing, arithmetic and reading. No reasoning. Even now, we implement the 4th R, which is reasoning. So it's very important. Now what happened here is that when the teachers are more focused towards the examination syndrome, they may tend to forget what they should do and what they need to do to our young children. Okay, I believe just now I saw the video which will be shown by Elmarie, which is I think is a good one, and so unfortunately it stands no more for emancipation and also evolution. I'm not sure about that, but thing has got to be changed. Okay, then following that, we need to know then what exactly is the true meaning of education. Now people talk about education. We are all here educationists regardless of who you are. Even though you have your company, you have your big organization, but we are educators. You are not teachers, but you are teachers to your young children. How good you are as a teacher or even as a mom. And I think Tun Mahathir just now said both parents are working. You go out early in the morning and you come back late at night. You go out while your children are still sleeping, and when you come back, your children are also sleeping. So where is the quality time? Okay. Now following that, does education make one wiser? Does education make Mr. Junaidi a wiser man? Or make Professor Asif a wiser man? Prof Asif? Or are you happier with the education that you have acquired from your early education? Or contented? Or make one a better human being? So this is very, very important. We are talking about to inculcate character building now through virtual online education. Now this is just to show you the scenario of what is happening in our preschool Malaysian system. And then I would like to touch about what are values. Now when we talk about values, different people define values differently. But let me get to the general one, that values are standard or principle considered to be very important in life. Next, Zana. Either coming from within you or being practiced by you. And what are those things coming from within you? So these are values that you people need to know, that your children need to know. Now if you have your children in the preschool area, these are the things that they need to have, which is coming from within. What happened? Next. Okay, straight, just click. Love, kindness, compassion, mercy, and also sympathy, empathy. Stop there. Now, you look at all these 6 lists. It is not it. There are many more, but I'm just taking the significant one. So do your young children have the love, have the compassion, have the empathy sometimes? These are the things that you need to do. And where are you going to do it? Of course, at the younger level, which is at the nursery level or at the preschool level. Now, it's not easy to teach the young children to have all these values. You can't go in front of the class and then define what is love. Love means you hug each other. Is that so? Or empathy. What do you mean by empathy? So it is not true definition, but it is true practice. How are you going to do that via virtual education? So that's a question for you there. So this is our mission. Next one, and values being to be practiced is that is the punctuality. Just now when Adam called everybody to be in, it doesn't mean that you are not punctual, but you are punctual because it starts at 2:10. So at 2:08, everybody is still out there. The punctuality is there. And then the discipline, the obedience, the behavior, the conduct, and also the character. Who are you now? Now, we were discussing at the lunch table just now. The crowd was very good. Now, why that the crowd was very good? Is it because you would like to know more about how to inculcate the character building that you all wish to have? Yeah? And I believe here there's a lot of also people in technology, people in IT, and also people in education. Some of them were my students, and some of them are colleagues from University of Malaya and also from UKM, UPSI, and a lot more. Then, just go on, Zana. So why values here? Go on, proceed. The rest you can read. Now what I would like to show you at this PowerPoint is that what we are is important than what we have. Who we are now. Who am I? Who is Almari? Who is Junaidi? Who is Prof Asif? Who is Dr. Mahani? Who is Puan Melati? Who you are. Do you look at what we have or who I am? And a lot more to think about. So these are the things that you need to inculcate within the young children. Okay? And then in relation to that, Zana, just go on. When I stop, just go on. Okay. Education in values or value education helps in developing. So these are the things that you need to do. Now the reason that why I show all this is to make sure that these are the things that we need to do within HAAW. These are the things that we need to do within the character building. These are the things that we need to do to make sure that the young children have the values by using HAAW. Not yet to promote HAAW, but to make sure that the crowd understand what we are trying to do. Now, not to say that the education system is weak, but think it for yourself. We are more examination orientation syndrome. Teachers are more chasing, I have not finished my syllabus yet. Where are we? Where are we? Oh, I'm so scared. The inspectorate will come and then check me whether I've completed my syllabus. I think the PPD people are here. This is the reality, yeah? PPD means the state education officer, yeah? This is not to say against, but this is what happening in reality. And I think you do believe that as well. Now, these are the things that we need to have. The role of, just go on. Role of value education, okay? Few questions here. This is a very important question. In spite of all this, value education is not given enough prominence in the curriculum. Now, I was a teacher. I am a teacher. Okay? Now, if you look at the curriculum, I was involved in the developing of the early childhood curriculum for the national preschool curriculum. Of course, the values are there. But when it is to be taken to the preschool level, sometimes it is not practiced. What more important is the 3R. So by the use of the virtual online system or virtual education, we will attract all these values to be inculcated indirectly, and that the children are happily learning, fun in learning. Okay? So if you look at the second question, is it because it is not a course which can be tested and graded? Now tell me, you are all teachers. I am a lecturer. I'm a teacher in the University of Malaya. We do not have any course which will grade the value of a person. How could you define a value of a person, and how could you assess given to A, B, C or D? So we don't grade them, and because of that, sometimes they couldn't care less about that. This is the issue now. And is it because the result of the teaching cannot be seen immediately? Of course it cannot be seen. Who am I here? Who is Mr. Junaidi here? He worked so hard for all these things. And then this is not in one day or in 1 year character building. This is to be adopted from the young children. Okay? Now the final one, the final question, which is also very important to me, is that, or is it because we think children will learn the value somehow, or the other, and it is not our responsibility? Now let me bring you to the third video. You can see that the children are happily learning, but this learning comes in terms of singing and also hands-on activities. Please show the third one, Zana. This was taken when I visited the community school in Indonesia.
Iba rumahnya di mana? Di Leles juga. Iba usianya berapa? Oh, 3 tahun. 3 ditambah 1 ya? Iya. 4. Terima kasih, Iba.
The theme of this learning session is about the character of a profession or an object.
Terima kasih semuanya. Tepuk tangan.
This is to show appreciation. It's a teamwork. They are happy. They respect the teachers. who is a doctor.
Isi obat, lalu suntik, jus.
And the last one is about who is a clown. So it's a very lively preschool classroom situation. But we cannot sometimes get that in our own preschool situation sometimes, yeah? So this is very important. Now, this is about the role of value education, and go on next one because I don't think I have time for that. Okay, now who is responsible for that? The teachers and schools are very responsible in that. The parents as well, they play an important role, because sometimes the association between parents and teachers are very important, because teachers need to know what parents know, and the same thing goes on. The parents need to know what the teachers do in the classroom situation. We just cannot blame each other, because this is sometimes what's happening. If, let's say, the children fail to write and read, then the parents will just say, you are not doing your work. You get your paid at the end of the day. So this is not a very good, a very healthy environment. So how can we inculcate these values if, let's say, the teachers and parents are not working in a healthy environment? Okay. Now we go on to the next one. Now I don't think I would like to show this. You look at the way the approach that has been done in Malaysia, especially in some preschool setting. This is not in all preschool setting. The approach that I've shown, the subtle approach, Zana, next one. Next one. I don't think I can show this one. So you have to catch them when they are young. These are very important, because the parents, teachers and family environment are very great influence on the child. So this is where hope will be happening. Parents, teachers, the environment will have to play a big role to make sure that we are able to influence on building the character building for the young children. And also we have to catch them young straight away. Zana. Okay. Next. All these are also very important. Okay. So the academics and the co-curricular activity, the value-based education, the music, what had happened just now during the video session, this is also important for developing. The suggestion and words spoken by the parents and other affect the character as well. Next. Okay. This one is also important. Now I would just like to say, just go on, Dana. Experience, appreciate and understandings are very important in our young children. Okay, if you look at the preschool setting in our Malaysian curriculum system for the international parties. Now it is not, as I said before, it is not that easy, and it's not also difficult, because we are bogged down by the curriculum system as well. So how to make sure that we can always deviate ourselves from the curriculum system to make sure that our young children learn with fun, and our young children can always learn without being pressured. Now imagine, I was discussing with Elmarie just now, sometimes our young children as early as 5-year-old, they start to go to school and at 8 a.m. yeah, and then come back at 1 p.m, go back to a tuition center, go to this school, go to that school, piano school, ballet school, and come back at 6 p.m. And they are already tired. I'm sure when you go back, you will sleep well. Why? Because you are mentally exhausted. You are not physically exhausted because you are only sitting down and watching. But you are mentally exhausted. Now the same thing goes to the young children. They can't afford to absorb everything in the short-term memory. Now, in psychology, your short-term memory can only get +7 minus 2 items per second. So imagine, from 8 a.m. until 6 p.m, so much information is acquired by the young children within how many hours, within how many seconds. So this is very, very important. So we have to make sure that we are able to really appreciate them and understand them. Okay, as Babuji said, one who can express has not experienced, and one who has experience cannot express. This is also very important, the word by Babuji. And if you look at this thought here, everything. So you look at your children, you look at yourself. You think of how hope could do the process if we have this. Watch your thought, they become words. Watch your words, they become action, and action become habits. Habits will become the character, and finally character becomes your destiny. And I remember the last sentence that Tun Mahathir said. Okay? Your thought finally will become the character. And the character will then lead to who you are now. So it is very important to make sure that the character building is inculcated from the very young age. So just go on, next one. This is about butterfly. Okay, this is to show the metamorphosis about our young children as the butterfly. So who is she or who is he before becomes a beautiful butterfly? So this is also very important, from the crawling to the flying, from the dull to the spectacular, from the fat sluggish to light and airy. So this is also very important. Now this is what happening in our preschool Malaysian system. Now there are so many different types of preschool in Malaysia that sometimes children get confused. Now why I say get confused? Because once they go out from their different perspective of preschool, they will have to go into the common streaming of year 1. Okay? Next one. What is the bell for? Next one. Next one. Okay. This is to be related with the young children. Next. So this is also very important. The value education, the need to understand oneself, the management of self, decision making, and also personality development. Now our UM team, back. We have done research about value education, and we have all these variables, but we are still in the process of checking whether the value education will be able to really help children to understand themselves, whether they are able to manage themselves, whether they are able to really make decision, and whether they have a good personality development. Now talking about good personality development, now we have got to remember that to develop our young children holistically, they have to be developed their socio-emotional, their physical, their language, as well as their intellectual. And intellectual, if you look at the word intellectual, is it the 3R or is it the 4R? Now the 3R, as I mentioned to you before, it is more routine. It is more by routine learning, the reading, writing, and arithmetic. Whereas with the 4th R, it has become more rationalized, where they have to practice the 3H. Can you go straight to the 3H? So when the HLAF, together with several organizations from the IPTA, University of Malaya, UNICEF, and a few others, we are trying to make sure that we have the 3H as well: heads, hands, and also heart. So from there, this is what has been happening in our preschool Malaysian system. We practice independent approach. Prof Asif, this is one of the approaches that we use. The independent approach, where there will be special time to inculcate values in a deliberate manner, where in Islamic we learn about the Aqidah, we learn about the Al-Quran, and a lot more. So this is Islamic, and I think in Buddhism as well. And the second approach that we practice in some kindergarten is that integrated approach. This is where also hope will come in, but actually it has been implemented at the preschool level, 4 to 6 years old. Okay, is the integrated approach, where integrated approach is one of the 4 themes in the national preschool curriculum subtle approach, this is also very important, where it is based on values are caught and actually not taught. So it is through the fun learning, it is through the play approach, and also it is through a lot more. And I believe that through the technology, through the virtual education, this could be done. Though some of us might not have the confidence that will virtual education be able to inculcate the values that we need to have. Yep. And for subtle approach, these are the role of certain parties: teacher, school, parents, family, and also the society. That's where we are all here. We are the society. Okay, we are the society, we are the parents, and we are also the teachers. And when it comes to subtle approach, they have to be taught with love. Will hope be able to do that? Adam, I understand, but I have to proceed. Next. Go on. Head, heart, and hands. This is very important. We have to use the 3H, right, Anne-Marie? These are very important. Children need to use all these 3H. This is very important. And I hope will also be able to use these 3Hs to make sure that it is a successful mission. And these are all the role of the teacher. You don't need to show. This is the role of the teacher, to lead them towards a better tomorrow. Okay, love without condition, and a big set of questions. Just throw everything. Can all these values be taught in the digital era? I think the digital person would be able to answer that. And what sort of software that is suitable? Could this approach be implemented to make sure these values are inherited and inculcated? And will creativity, innovation, determination, supportive environment will be the product of hope? I'm not doing the publicity for hope, but I'm just trying to make sure that will this be a successful one. Okay, now there are different professions in this room. Then you have your own different idea, and me being the psychologist, where my niche area is early childhood education, I can see that early childhood education is very important. And with the constraint now, Malaysian education system is in the era of still examination orientation syndrome, still in the process of trying to finish up the syllabus. So where are we? Okay. And finally, I would just like to say these few words. An excellent teacher inspires. So are we the excellent teacher? I guess Prof Asif is the excellent teacher. She always inspires me. Or a good teacher explains. You just nag. Or an average teacher teaches and a bad teacher complains. So are we going to inculcate all this in our young children? So you choose which would you like to have. Okay? And then these are all the conclusion. And what I would just like to say is that I can see that we will have a lot of challenges ahead. Because when someone at the top change, education sometimes change. It's not in Malaysia, in everywhere in the world. I hope you agree with me, Mr. Junaidi, or else I'll be slaughtered. Everywhere in the world, the top hierarchy change, the education system will change, the social aspect will also change, and a lot more. Hopefully, with the hope, things will also change, regardless whoever change up there. And for that, I thank you very much for lending me your ears, and maybe that there will be Q&A. Will there be a Q&A? Because my 30 minutes exceed.
Yes, there will. Thank you, Dr. Mariani, for the inspiring presentation.
Hope
Any
so.
any questions for Dr. Mariani?
Can Zana, can you just write down my email address first?
Any questions from the floor? One question.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you very much for your interesting presentation. I'm not sure whether it's a question. The issue of values is a very serious one.
Yeah.
We face this as parents.
Yes.
We send them to school, they come back with different sometimes. The thing about values is that they are not knowledge. You see, I can learn mathematics. That's it. I can just survive. But I cannot just know values. I have to practice values.
Yes.
And practicing values is as you said, you need an example sometimes in front
Yes.
of you. And that way, the challenge of digital era,
Digital era.
in education becomes a serious matter that we have to look at.
Yes.
Because if we send someone behind the PC or the tab or the smartphone and teach them whatever they are learning, I'm not sure that they are getting any value from there. Of course, we will not, some people might say, we cannot assume that they are sitting there, they are still living with their parents and so on. But the interaction during learning is very important. If I want to think of an idea of how to make values taught through the
Virtual.
virtually, it has to come through the knowledge, through the software, through some practice, but somebody has to guide. It cannot be just sitting in front of the computer, running the software, and then I say I learn. The same thing goes with our forms of acts as Muslims, like Ibadah and Salah. We practice our prayers, but it's not up to them. What matters is not that I just go and pray, and then after I finish my prayers, I leave the mosque, and then I'm not cheating and lying. There's no point. So the value has to be actually
Practice.
practice. I just agree with you. It's quite a challenge. Thank you.
So it is a challenge. I agree with you. Thank you very much. Where are you from? May I know? Don't look like Malaysian.
I'm teaching at IIUM.
Huh? IIUM.
Yeah.
Where are you from? Malaysia?
No, from Jordan.
Jordan. Okay. Jordan guy. Okay. Now I agree with him. Value has to be practiced. Then how are we going to make sure that children can practice using virtual education? Now this is where the challenges comes in. Now we have been talking of this over and over again. This is not a business of 1 month or 2 months. We have been discussing about it with Mr. Junaidi, Prof Asif, and then Mr. Hassan. Where is he? We have been discussing over a year, and we are trying to do it. Okay. Now if we succeed, then of course the whole world will get the benefit. If not, then we will have to try to do some other mode, but still using virtual education. As Don Mahathir said just now, we have got to be innovative. Yep, we have got to be innovative. Like one of my PhD students was telling me, he was walking right in the middle of the rural area by wearing a coat. Okay, and normally kampung people will just wear sluggish t-shirt with a short pant and a slipper. But this guy was walking smartly, okay, neatly, okay, with a tie, walking in between the kampung people, and they got a shock. But he managed to walk through without having disturbed by them. So thank you very much. Yes.
Okay, we have time for one last
Yeah, one
question.
more. Maybe you can ask me personally.
Yes.
Yes.
Over there.
Yeah.
In the middle.
Can you tell us where are you from?
Yes. Can you introduce yourself?
Yes.
Your presentation. My name is Mariani from UPN.
UPM. No, UPM. Lecturer.
Contract. I just want to ask a question about this value system. How early do you pass it across to the
until they got married. But in UK, the child's right are until 18 years old, right? They can do whatever they like. In Africa, I'm not sure I'm married. The child's right. They can do whatever they like until they're 18 years old, let's say. So in Malaysia, the values will be passed through role modeling by the parents, by the teachers, and also by the community. But believe me, within this digital era, young children as small as 2-3 years old are using iPad nowadays, just to make sure that the parents are busy working with something else and that the young children will not disturb the parents. So this shouldn't be the case. So it has to be grabbed within the hands-on, right, where they will role model the parents. That's why I said just now, the thought comes from the words, and finally the thought becomes the character, where it will find your final destiny. Now in our Malaysian system, in Malaysia, especially for the Muslim, for the Muslim, we will make sure that we inculcate the values by singing, by reciting Al-Quran when they are still in the as the fetus. So we will recite Al-Quran a lot more. So we will always make sure that these values will be inculcated even before they are born, right? But this is an ideal one. It's not an easy thing to do this, okay? Now when they go to school, as you said, primary school, they smoke. With the discipline teacher around, with the headmaster around, with the prefects all over the environment, they can still smoke. Now why do they smoke? And of course, they are somebody whom they imitate. Now according to Bandura, children as young as 7 years and below, they will always imitate the adult. So if the adult smoke, they will know what to do. Okay? If let's say they drink, in Malaysia drink means you drink alcohol, so they will just drink. If you can do it, I can do it. Now in the secondary school, how the value should be inculcated is through the soft skill. And how should this soft skill be to make sure that it is inculcated within the primary or secondary school level? It is by the community service activity. Okay, community service activity in the secondary level, I'm not sure, correct me if I'm wrong, the PPD people, the secondary level, they have to do the co-curriculum activities. Within the co-curriculum activities, the soft skill will then be evaluated and they will be observed about all these things. So this is where the values come in. But in Malaysian system, telling you, the guy from postdoc in UPM, a teacher will have to write their lesson plan, daily lesson plan. And at the end of the page, what should be written? What should be written is that what are the moral of the story, or what will be the moral that should be inculcated within the lesson. So sometimes it is just by writing, it is not really practicing. So it's more on documentation rather than the real practice. So this has been going on, and with my experience teaching the young children as well, you need to be also cheerful with them, and it's not only asking them to read, write and count, but you have to do more than that, where they have to use the 3H, they have to use the heads, they have to use the hands to make sure that they're active, and they have to use their heart to make sure that they have the passion, they have the love. Yeah? So this is very important. Thank you, Adam.
Thank you, Dr. Mariani.